Hi, Meteorologist Lisa Green here with a look at what we can expect for our first alert weather days that we've been talking about, specifically for Friday. But there are two rounds of severe weather that we're going to break down for you coming up here in the forecast. And it's not just severe weather, too. We're also talking about extreme heat as well. So a lot to go over here on this Thursday morning. So here we go. We're going to, first of all, of course, get into the details on the storms that are coming our way. We're starting off with storms that will develop late tonight and overnight and into early Friday morning, and then another round of storms that will be possible as we head into the day on or nighttime hours on Friday. Let's start off with today, though. This morning we've had some rain and thunderstorms moving through the valley, especially earlier this morning, and even a little kind of last gasp of those showers that just moved through about an hour ago through the FM area. You can see some of those showers exiting off to the east on our sky cam there. And as we continue on in our forecast, expect to have some showers over toward Lake of the Woods, Lakes Country. Lake of the Woods is quieter now, but by Detroit Lakes and Fergus Falls, kind of watching that last bout move on. Otherwise, it's sunny in a lot of places, and we'll see a pretty quiet day ahead of us for today. So zooming in on that area, you can see that we've got some showers around Pelican Rapids, back down toward the Battle Lake, Otter Tail Lake area, some of those same places that had the severe weather on Monday. Just watching some general showers move through here this morning. And again, that will continue to roll eastward, and we'll see conditions that will be improving, or rather moving into some more active weather here as we make our way into tonight. So it looks like we're having some issues with that graphic, so we're going to skip right past that one. But we're going to talk more about the timing of this. So again, today we're looking at weather that is going to be starting off this afternoon on a quieter note. And moving into the forecast here, looks like we're having some issues with our computer. So we're going to zip ahead, see if we can get something to work here. Here we go. Okay, sorry about that, guys. We're going to make sure that we're looking into that hour-by-hour planner coming up here in just a bit. But let's talk about our severe storm risk. You can see that we've got some areas of where we're in a more elevated risk today than we were compared to yesterday. So the Storm Prediction Center thinking that we're going to be experiencing some severe storms that are more likely in those areas in yellow. That's level 2 slight risk for eastern North Dakota, back over into Lakes Country in Minnesota. And in addition to that, conditions that are going to be on the stormy side, even outside of that greater risk area. Okay, so I just rebooted my computer here, and I'm hoping that will help me to kind of walk through some of these graphics I had to skip over just a moment ago, because I really do want to break this down for you since we have the time for that here this morning. So again, we've been talking about the chances for rain, and you can see Lakes Country still seeing a couple of showers this morning, but once that moves on, it does improve as we head into our Juneteenth. So again, it's a big holiday. A lot of people are off today. Maybe you've got plans to head out to the pool, or maybe go to a Juneteenth celebration, maybe just spend some time outdoors. And we're really looking pretty good here. So we're going to start things off at noon. You see temperatures around 80 degrees at that point. And then even into the afternoon, high of about 86 in Fargo. And then by this evening, still on the dry side at 8 p.m. I think this is the time where we want to start watching the radar, want to keep an eye on things, but even at that point, we may not be seeing storms just yet. So again, looking pretty good for us here to start off our Juneteenth, and that will continue into the afternoon and evening. It's after that that we see our chances for rain, our chances for thunderstorms start to ramp up. So let's move through our hour-by-hour planner now. So now that that's working, we can talk about how we're looking at 6 p.m. tonight here, where I've paused the clock. And you can see that temperatures are going to be very warm still at that point. We've got a warm front lifting in from the south, and so that's going to bring about much warmer temperatures in the south today than the north, and that will lead to kind of that focal point for storm development. So wherever that warm front sets up, that's where we're looking at the best likelihood for storm development. So just to kind of draw a line here, say that's my line. It doesn't look very good, but say that's where the warm front is. We would be looking at, right along this line. As I try to clear that away here, we'll use my pointer. Sorry guys, I've got a sluggish computer here. So there's my arrow that I want to point out. So it would be along this front. there's some uncertainty though. Where exactly is this going to set up? Is it going to be farther north? Is it going to be farther south? And so that means that all of us need to be kind of on alert for tonight for that front to potentially affect us here for the evening. So we're going to clear that away. We're going to move ahead. Heading into the 11 o'clock hour tonight, you see those storms starting to pop up. And this is going to be kind of right in the heart of the valley. You see some areas of development happening closer to midnight, but for many of us, we may not see any rain until after midnight tonight. And so when we're talking about our first alert weather day on Friday, that's why we're saying early morning hours, we have that potential, the overnight hours, the potential for severe, and then again, a second round later Friday night. And so you can see here that we're looking at those storms starting to pop up quite a bit, and we're getting some that are looking rather impressive. One here, others over into Lakes Country. Those are what we would consider supercell thunderstorms. They're more likely tonight to produce some large hail, some ping pong ball size hail, 1.5-inch diameter, where they develop, and some damaging wind gusts to 60 miles per hour. In addition to that, of course, watching for heavy downpours and lightning too. And one thing I want to point out is notice how not everybody's seeing this. So it's going to be kind of localized in a lot of ways, but also everybody has a shot at this point. And you can see one storm really developing according to this model scenario by 3 o'clock in the morning on Friday. So that means that this is an overnight event for a lot of us while we're sleeping. Really important to have multiple ways to be alerted to severe weather while you are sleeping. It's extra dangerous when you're not conscious for that storm development. So you want to get woken up if there is a severe thunderstorm heading your way before it gets to you. Of course, the lightning and the thunder might wake you up, but you want to know ahead of time. So make sure you have those alerts set on your phone, your weather radio going as well. So again, this is 3 a.m. We will be, of course, monitoring that for you and maybe even tracking some of these storms through the valley today on Friday morning. So this is 7 a.m. on Friday. That round moves on. And then, there's still some rain in the vicinity, kind of similar to today, where it's not quite clear, but we are looking at a break between rounds at that point. So let's take a look at our severe risk of impacts. Again, we just looked at this graphic a few minutes ago. This is for today, mainly for the late night hours and overnight hours. We've got that level 2 slight risk in yellow. It includes most of the valley. And if you're not in that, you're still in a marginal risk for tonight. And again, looking out for the potential for some large hail up to 1.5 inches in diameter and wind gusts to 60 miles per hour where these storms do develop. So again, not everybody will get hit by these storms, but the potential is there for everyone. And then our tornado risk, lower risk tonight. Tomorrow night will be the greater threat. So again, this is tonight. I just want to do some comparison here, tonight's risk, and then look at tomorrow's risk. Everybody in the valley is in that level 2 yellow risk. And everybody is at risk for all impacts. And so we're talking about hazards that include an isolated tornado, golf ball size hail possible, so a little larger hail, a wind gust to 60 miles per hour as well with this storm or this round of storms. So let's take a look at that for Friday. This is Friday noon. As we head into Friday evening, you can expect to have, again, relatively quiet conditions, not a whole lot going on around 5 p.m. and even into that 6, 7, 8 o'clock hour, we may not be seeing much. But once we get into late Friday night, that's when we start to see that development again. This is around 11 p.m. Starting to see those storms develop more, continuing on into the late night hours, we see more and more of those storms start to pop. And that's when we have the potential for some tornadoes to develop, the possibility for large hail and damaging wind gusts. So breaking down each hazard, here's a look at the tornado threat. Basically, most areas in the valley have that possibility, so we all want to take that threat seriously. But right now, the greatest risk does appear to be more that Highway 200 corridor, which is kind of right here, which basically bisects the valley from north to south. That corridor and then points south in this kind of brown area, and that's where we have an isolated threat. That's a little higher than the low threat that you see in green on the map there. And again, isolated tornadoes possible here for late night and overnight into early Saturday morning. Looking at our hail threat with this one, now this is an interesting graphic. You see the yellow, which means an elevated hail threat, but you also see those hashed lines. If you look to the right on the legend, that means significant. So a significant threat or an elevated threat for significant hail, I should say. So we're talking again of that potential for golf ball size hail within the entire valley. Everybody has a shot of that with this one. And similar situation for wind and an elevated threat for significant wind gusts associated with these storms across the valley. So something to pay attention to, again, as we head into the next couple of nights. Daytime hours, relatively quiet. It's those nights that are going to be troublesome here. Now, I do want to quickly go over the weekend. Once that storm moves out Saturday morning, there's still going to be a lot of instability in the air, and that's because it's just going to be muggy, and moisture in the air equals energy and fuel for thunderstorms. Here's the thing though, it may just be too hot for storms to form. So while there is a slight chance that we might see some storms on Saturday, what we're really focused in on is the heat, and we do have that extreme heat watch that takes effect on Saturday for some of our counties in the south. And that continues into Sunday. And then for some in the east, it's really more towards Sunday where we're under that extreme heat watch. But everywhere in the valley this weekend needs to be aware that it's going to be hotter and that we need to be exercising those heat precautions. So one thing I want to mention is that the National Weather Service has changed some of its language for its warnings. These used to be called excessive heat watches, excessive heat warnings. Now it's extreme heat watch, extreme heat warning. Similar sentiment here between excessive and extreme, similar meaning, but this kind of lines up with the opposite end, the extreme cold alerts that are in the winter time. So just kind of simplifying the language for both seasons here. So just a reminder about that as we head into our first kind of heat outbreak essentially for us heading into this weekend. So I want to talk about heat risk and the probability for that. So this is a map showing that today we've got areas in yellow. That means minor risk, and you can see a lot of us in that range. You can see that hotter air farther south to us associated with the heat risk. And then let's move ahead to Friday. Friday's heat risk is a little bit more elevated. We're seeing more orange in the valley, more moderate heat concerns. And then once we get into Saturday, that's where we're looking out for major heat risk. And that includes, again, places in red, so southeastern North Dakota, places into Minnesota as well. And this carries on into Sunday too. One thing I want to point out, places around Devil's Lake may not be as hot. Again, it depends on how far north this heat dome we've been talking about, this air mass that contains hot air, how far north and west it can move. And again, this is associated with that warm front as well at the surface that we'll be experiencing here the next couple of nights. And then for Sunday, you can see it starts to transition eastward a little bit, and we start to see more relief, and especially on Monday, that heat risk goes away. So it's a couple of days here that we're going to have to be heat aware here before we get some relief. And there is a description of this index. This is a relatively new thing from NOAA. And so let's just take a look at what that red means. I'll read that to you. Major heat risk means that this level of heat affects anyone without effective cooling and or adequate hydration. So impacts likely in some health systems, heat sensitive industries, and infrastructure. So everybody, once we get into that red or major category when we're talking about heat risk, we all need to be taking those preventative measures. And here is how we can beat the heat. A reminder, if you can stay in air conditioning, do so. I know not everybody has an air conditioner at home, so even if you can during the day, especially the hottest parts of the day, maybe take a break, go grocery shopping, head to the library, that's free. Anything, go for a walk through the mall. Anything that can help cool you down for a little bit and cool your body down. It's that cumulative effect of the heat that really gets to you. And then in addition to that, we're talking about, and maybe I'll pull up my camera here so we can point out each one of these and talk about each one of these. Of course, staying hydrated, that's number one. A reminder, coffee is not hydrating. Pop is not hydrating. Certainly alcoholic beverages not hydrating. So make sure you're drinking that water. Cut down on exercise, something that would heat your body up a little bit more. If you get overheated, start to feel warm, you can take a cold shower or bath to help cool yourself down. Avoid cooking in your home if you can. That adds heat. Baking, cooking on the stove. And if you're out wearing loose clothing, that helps to kind of introduce some airflow to your body. Find shade, of course, on those sunny, hot days, and we'll see some sunshine this weekend. And a really important thing, check that back seat for anybody left behind, because those cars, as we know, can heat up pretty quickly in even in normal summertime temperatures, but especially in this type of heat that we'll be expecting here. So just some tips as we head into our first kind of hot outbreak of the season here. So a reminder, let's talk about our headlines here. We're, of course, dealing with thunderstorms here in the forecast. So I just want to remind you that we have our first severe weather risk happening for tonight. That storm risk is going to be late through the early morning hours on Friday. So this is more of an overnight event, though we could see it starting up before midnight. I would expect around sunset or later would be the time frame that we would start to see some development. And then that second risk on our first alert weather day for Friday night, all severe risks are possible. We're looking out for some significant risk as well when it comes to hail, large damaging hail, wind gusts, and again, that possibility for an isolated tornado. And then that hot weekend that we just talked about, 90-degree heat plus humidity going to be a big factor for us as we head into the weekend. We are talking heat index values that could be closer to 100. And a reminder, heat index just means, similar to wind chill, what it feels like on your body to be out there. The more humid it gets, the harder it is for the sweat that you have as you are trying to cool down. That the beads of sweat need to evaporate from your body into drier air in order to cool yourself down. And if the air is full of water already, you're not going to get that evaporative cooling. That's so important to cooling a person down. So that's why humidity becomes an even bigger factor during hot weather events. And a reminder about severe storm safety, I just want to stress this again because we have some overnight storms coming. Make sure you have plenty of ways to get information. VNL Weather app, you can set it to alert you where you are, so you can get alerts through the app. Of course, you can check with us right here on valleynewslive.com, on our social media pages as well, on air. But you want multiple ways to be alerted, so NOAA Weather Radio is a great tool. Make sure you've got your wireless emergency alerts set on your phones and devices as well. Because, when you're sleeping, you may not hear that storm until it's right upon you, and then you don't have time to take cover. So it's good to get that alert before it gets to you. And make sure that you have that plan in place for overnight for your family if those alerts go off. That way, when you're waking up and half asleep, you don't have to think too much. You just know exactly where to go in the event of storms that pop up and severe storms that develop. So again, have that safety plan and know where to go. In addition to that, sirens might wake you up too, and have a reminder of knowing when your sirens sound in your community and if you can hear them at all. Some communities don't have sirens, some homes are too far away from the sirens to hear, so I wouldn't necessarily rely on that for alerting you to severe weather during these events, but it's a great additional tool if you have it. So here's a look at our planner. Again, just want a quick review. Next couple of days we're heating up. We've got the storms in the evening hours. During the daytime hours it should be a little bit quieter, though tomorrow morning especially, and then again Saturday morning, early Saturday morning, we may still be dealing with some strong to severe storms during that time. There are those 90s I was talking about for the weekend, highs in the low 90s with heat index values that are higher. And then next week, back into some temperatures that are going to be on the more comfortable side for a lot of folks, back into the 70s and then warming it back into the 80s by the weekend. So, we've got a lot going on here in our forecast over the next couple of days. The Valley News Live First Alert Storm Team will be right here for you, keeping you updated right here on air, on, of course, our VNL weather and news apps throughout this event, and keeping you up to date throughout the storms and the heat that's building in for the weekend. So just make sure you're staying weather aware and you are ready for severe weather that may be coming your way. Have a great day.